The Toronto Raptors. This is going to be our shortest conversation just because this one's simple, right? Like the Toronto Raptors are not necessarily trying. By the way, Fred just like walked away.
No, I'm here.
Like,
I didn't want to disrupt the podcast. It's like 1,000,000 degrees in this office right now.
Oh my God.
And I had to do something about it.
So
I kind of forgot that we were on video.
It's
if
amazing.
I'm being honest.
We've been talking forever. So here's the thing with the Raptors. It feels like to me that all of these other teams are looking at the Raptors roster and going, oh, they have OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam and Scottie Barnes and all these long forwards. And they're trying to see which one they can pull out. And they've settled on OG Anunoby, and they're trying to drop little sprinkles of rumors out there to try and be able to get OG Anunoby out of Toronto. Why the fuck would they trade OG Anunoby for anything less than like an awesome deal?
I'm with you. He's got 3 years and $56 million left. Yeah.
It's an incredible contract.
OG Anunoby's awesome. He's like an excellent two-way player. And they have built. I don't buy, Scottie Barnes makes OG Anunoby expendable. This isn't the Pittsburgh Pirates, your team,
Fred.
Where you have as Sam knows, this is not the Pittsburgh Pirates where just because you have a rookie first baseman who's really good, then it's time to trade the first baseman ahead of him who makes more. That's not how it works. You cannot have enough good scoring, awesome defending, versatile wings on your team. If you have Siakam and you have Anunoby and you have Scottie Barnes, you don't have a log jam. You have extraordinary depth. That team is as good as it is defensively because it never stops coming at you on the perimeter. They'll turn you over. Their half-court offense is a problem, but they are good in transition, and they will turn you over, and they will just keep going. They have incredible speed and incredible length on the perimeter, and a lot of that has to do with Anunoby. So if I'm them, I'm thrilled about the depth that I have there. And Van Vliet it fits into that identity incredibly as well, where he's just like, he's basically Kyle Lowry 2.0 with the way he plays at this point. Just especially defensively, he's just this stout, handsy, unbelievably strong. Like you can't post him up. He's just, I mean, they have a lot of talent.
It feels ridiculous to me that like they would move Anunoby unless they were using him as like the centerpiece to get a guy with like all-star ceiling, right? Like you move Anunoby and like something else, or like you accumulate Anunoby, Gary Trent, and 2 firsts to try and get up to a max player, right?
Right. And if that's it, that's different. Where that's using OG Anunoby as a piece to be proactive, as opposed to being the one who's saying, yeah, you come at us and you can have OG Anunoby. He's available. That's a different, it's a different sort of framing.
No. Yeah. I don't get the Anunoby thing. Like people are like saying like, oh yeah, like Portland, good target for Portland. For what? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's a great target for Portland.
I would rather have OG Anunoby than the number 7 pick this year. And
I just think that everybody sees athletic power forward, and that's so clearly what Portland wants. They want athletic power forward. They want Jeremy Grant. They want OG Anunoby. Right. They want the athletic power. And somebody sees, athletic power forward who has a contract that will fit into Portland's trade exception. Portland.
Easy.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade OG Anunoby for the 7th pick. And a million times. A million times more about the value of the 7th pick in this year's draft class than I do, but yeah, I wouldn't trade him for the 7th pick.
Yeah. You brought up Fred VanVleet. there is like a real extension opportunity here for the Raptors. They can get him at right around like 3 years, 90 million. Add that amount to his deal. Honestly, like I'd consider that. It seems like not a terrible. To maybe add like a couple years, add 260 or something like that. Maybe he'd want the 390 to confirm and lock it in. I mean, they have the Siakam thing where, again, he can sign an extension in October. He was absolutely terrific this year. Like, I would very much consider trying to lock him in. But like, other than that, this is kind of a quiet offseason for Toronto, it feels like, while they just continue to wait for Scottie Barnes and, maybe Scottie Barnes to move into a new realm of player.
I wouldn't be surprised if they made some noise in the center market.
That's a good point.
I heard a lot of stuff at the trade deadline about them being in on centers. Like, Nerlens Noel was one guy that I heard them connected with, and they love long centers, and I think they feel like they could use just kind of a rim protecting 5 to fit into things. Like I don't remember if I said this earlier on the podcast or not, because we've only been podcasting for 7 hours. But Mitchell Robinson, it seems like a team. Like if a team's gonna make an aggressive mid-level offer, be like, yeah, it's mid-level, but that's just because that's all we can pay you. We really want you. It seems like a good Mitchell Robinson fit. A guy like that, I could see them really valuing someone like that. So that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I buy that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else here. I mean, they need to like kind of remake their bench. It feels like there is not going to be a crazy amount of depth. Like Chris Boucher is a free agent. Thad Young is a free agent. Yuta Watanabe is a free agent who was like sneaky semi-useful for them last year at times. My dog is like scratching at my door, just like very upset right now for some reason. I'm going to go let her in, talk about like the way the Raptors can remake their bench. Because I think they're probably going to try and like re-sign both those guys if they can.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. They couldn't hurt getting another shooter, to be honest. Like their half-court offense really stalled at times. And I think that's like in part, like you feel comfortable helping off of Pascal Siakam, and you feel comfortable helping off of Scottie Barnes. And, I wouldn't be surprised if they went out. Sam's dog has joined the podcast now. I wouldn't be surprised if they went out and tried to get a shooter or two as well to join them and just add a little bit more spacing to those lineups, because they can have times where things can get cloggy. They can get a little slow and like we saw them against Philly in the first round, where it was like half-court offense is not doing well against.
Not their strong suit at the moment.
No, it's not. And they can thrive in transition when they start playing fast and when they're turning the ball over, but they are not great when they have to run the sets. And if they could get an extra shooter out there, someone, I think that's something that could help them for sure.
No, I agree with you. Find a shooter. Honestly, like I think they could use one more. Like it depends so much on what Scottie Barnes is going to be, right? And I feel like there's kind of a wide window for could he just be like a top 10 player in the league who creates shots versus, just barely sub all-star, like all NBA kind of guy that isn't quite that. So they need him to be the top 10 guy, or they need to find another secondary playmaker, I feel like.
There's also like, man, Precious Achiuwa was really good in the second half of last year.
Yeah.
And started shooting threes and it like at like a really good level. And if Precious Achiuwa is going to be what he was, like if he is continuing on this trajectory, and if he's not just like what he was in the second half of last, like he's 22 years old. If he's not just what he was second half of last year, and he is this active of a defender, and he is this active of a scorer even, and now a shooter. And look, I don't think the shooting's a fluke. Everyone goes to Toronto and just learns how to shoot. At some point, it's not a coincidence anymore.
Yeah, I get it.
If you sent everyone from the Andre Robertson, Josh Eustace Hall of Fame to Toronto, they would no longer be in the Andre Robertson, Josh Eustace Hall of Fame. They all learn how to shoot. It's extraordinary. And
the Andre Robertson, Josh Eustace Hall of Fame is that's an all-timer.
And
Oh,
I just
God.
Achua is a big one for them because that's a big bench piece for them too. And he was playing in a lot of their most important lineups at the end of the season and was massively important for them. And he was the piece they got in the Kyle Lowry sign and trade. Like that's a really consequential guy to get back. I think he's really a part of their future. And that's something that will help their depth next year, just the development of him. He looks really good.
Yeah, he does. That's a good call. But I think they're going to be pretty quiet this offseason.